Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the REI Network podcast. I have another amazing guest. I'm going to introduce him here in just a second. Just before we get going, I just want to give you a little free giveaway. If you haven't already, go to reinetwork.com/lead sheet. reinetwork.com/lead sheet. This is something when I started in the business that I relied on a lot. It's great for notes, okay, to keep organized, and then you can actually take pictures and send it to your virtual assistant or your assistant to update the CRM. So go and grab that. It's completely free, so check it out. All right, thank you. So now I'm going to bring him over. I have an awesome, like I said, guest, and I thank him for coming on and joining. He's going to bring massive value today. So here he is, Greg Helbeck. How are you, bud?
Dude, honored to be a guest on your show, man. I could talk to you for hours, as we've done a few times now in Tulum and things like that. I appreciate your friendship and getting to know you over the last year.
Absolutely. Likewise. It's been amazing. And obviously I've been doing a lot of episodes on my own, right? Just teaching and trying to give content. And I was like, you know what? It's guest time. And we talked about that in Tulum. And, I said, hey, I've been on your show as well. And, it's like, I want to get you on. And I know you got a lot of value. And one of the big things, because there's so much on these shows, Greg, like there's so much value that you can bring. And it's like, what do I want the listeners to know? Like, how can I bring out kind of one or two key points for us to talk about? And I think one that springs to mind immediately is kind of big deals, right? Big margins. Stop focusing. We all teach about volume. It's cool to do 10 deals a month and all that. Like, but what about actually looking at profit, right? What about forget 10 deals? If 10 deals is going to bring in 100 grand, why not just do 100 grand, right? Or whatever it may be. Yeah. So I know you do big deals, right? We do some in Alabama. It's been a game changer. In Birmingham, Alabama, we just closed 2, and I have hoods to prove this, right? If needed. If anyone wants to message me, that we did 2 $50,000 wholesale fees in Birmingham, Alabama. And I wouldn't see the properties personally, right? But the team did that.
Wow.
Right, in Birmingham, Alabama. So I know, and you're doing it in higher end markets, and we're going to come to that. But when you think big, it is out there if you put your mind to it and you're solving problems. So I think it's a great topic because you're doing it. We're going to start there and we're going to jump in something else that I know you've got some tricks up your sleeve, so we're going to introduce as we go. So Greg, tell us a little bit about you. I know obviously you're a young guy. I think it's amazing for what you've achieved at 25, 26.
Today's my birthday, 26.
No way. You didn't tell me that. Happy birthday.
I don't want to be like, hey, it's my birthday. It's kind of like weird, So if people bring it up, I just mention it.
Well, guys, if you're watching us, right, wherever you're watching us when this episode goes out, give him a happy birthday. Make sure you like and subscribe as well. Bro, I didn't realize. All of a sudden now I feel terrible. I've got you on.
Dude, the thing is, the wealthier I get, the more I want to work on my birthday, dude. So like the last 3 or 4 years, my net worth has just gone as I work on my birthday. So it's my new tradition. So I love doing this stuff, man. Honestly, it's like fun. So just turned 26 today, actually. So to give you a little backstory for your listeners, I got involved in the business when I was 20. So I was a young kid. I was in college, didn't know what I wanted to do. I played hockey, failed at that. And I went to a seminar, I'm not kidding, on how to double close real estate deals with none of your own money. And I remember going to that seminar and I had no clue what I wanted to do. Like, I was like, man, I want to be wealthy. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I learned about double closing, which is essentially wholesaling. And they were basically saying like, hey, you can buy and sell a piece of real estate to someone and not bring any of your own money to the table. And, I was 20. I had like $2,000 in the bank. I sound like a seminar story right now. I sound like, oh, yeah, and by the way, but seriously, I was at a seminar. And I was like, I can do that. Like, I remember like, it was like a light bulb went off in my head where I was like, I can definitely do that. Like, there's no way that these people can do it and I can't do it. So I remember at that seminar, I made the decision right there. I was going to be a real estate investor. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but it turned around and paid $2,000, joined the next upsell, which was another seminar. I learned a lot of the mechanics at that event. It was in Yonkers, New York, back in 2015, man. Crazy how time flies. And after that last seminar, after the 3-day seminar, I went out and started taking action. And that's a key. And I fumbled my way around and fell into a deal about a year later, made $5,000. So I was basically working for free for a year. And I had a little bit of money saved, a couple $1,000, and I was living with my parents at the time. So I had no overhead really. Stumbled into a deal. And then from there, I started doing a deal every few months in New York, which is a pretty tough market for newbies.
We're going to come on that. I want to jump back real quick, though, to something that's really important, is look at your mindset of 20 years old, right? Fearless. A lot of people now would go to a seminar and they would pick it to pieces and say everything, why it's a scam or it wouldn't work or why this is, not realistic. Well, you did the opposite. You did well, if he can do it, I can do it. If they're doing it and making money, then I can definitely do it, right? Which is huge. I think everyone else now that's going into, whether it's coaching programs or doing virtual seminars or going or whatever, you have to believe in what you're doing, else don't go, right? Just don't go, right?
Don't go.
You got to believe that what you're going to do, and then you're going to implement. You're going to take massive action, which is the other thing, right? I think your mindset has to be there first before you can take action. It's very hard to take action on something that you don't believe in. So 100%. I think you get the mindset right first, actually, and that's a perfect way. I was the same way. When I was in Phoenix, all these people are making money. It's like, of course I can make money, right? So it's the same thing. So that's great. I just wanted to point, and because so many listeners are going to be at that stage and going, yeah, that's me. Like, I bought another course, and all I do is go negative to why it's not work. The market's so hot, right? The market, everyone's buying retail or this. And I know that's not the case, right? So anyway, so now we fast forward. You start doing deals in New York State.
Oh yeah, right? Dude. That's where I'm from. It's where I'm moving back to right now. And that market is not great for newbies because there's a lot of barriers to entry. There's lawyers, there's huge deposits. You really can't back out of contracts. So I was learning in a tough place, and it was good for me because it was almost like running uphill the whole time. And then when the race was flat, I already was used to running uphill. So I was able to kind of just, explode out of the gate. So I did probably like 10 or 15 deals in New York. I was still in college, like no joke, still in college. My parents were like, you got to get your degree. Like, you're not allowed to quit. And I was making some okay money. And then what really put me on the map, I guess, it's weird for me to even say that, but really what happened was before cold calling and texting got extremely more, I wouldn't say saturated because I'm still buying a lot of houses from that strategy, but before it was common and it was popular, I was basically getting frustrated with the New York sales cycle because it took me so long to close these deals, right? And I was like, man, if I could go into a market where there was no attorneys and I could basically just market to more people, because there was only so many people in my one little county, I said, I bet you I could make more money. And I'm not kidding, Gavin. This is in 2018. So this isn't even that long ago, 3 years ago. I said, I'm going to try this in Dallas, Texas and see what happens. So I committed. And I had some experience at the time, and I had some money saved up too. I said, I'm going to go all into Texas. I'm going to spend 4 hours a day cold calling, texting, generating leads, making offers. And I started literally spending 4 hours a day on the phones, going virtual, without really knowing what I was doing. And within about 60 days, I locked up a house. We made $18,000. I partnered with another investor, which is a really good strategy if you're doing virtual deals. And ever since then, from that first deal until really a couple of years ago when the momentum stopped a little bit, we were locking up 3, 4, 5 houses a month virtually, never seeing them. We were making serious margins, like $20, $30, $40, $50,000. We started closing on properties. We started rehabbing them and doing all this crazy stuff. Next thing you know, I moved out to California while all this is happening, and my life completely changed. Income changed, and my lifestyle just all of a sudden, after 2 or 3 years of really hard work, real estate really started to work out. So that's kind of my backstory and how I guess got some momentum. And ever since then, now my primary business, I'm buying 3 to 4 houses a month in New York, and we're rehabbing, we're doing rentals, doing wholesales, and primarily focusing on either really big profit margin deals or buying really good rental properties that have solid cash flow.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to dive into that. So
yeah,
because again, people go, well, I do. And this is really important. People are probably listening going, well, I do 3 deals, a month. The difference is what is the profit? What are the spreads?
Dude,
right. So we're here to talk about
now. They're big. Yeah. I mean, we got a $40,000 wholesale deal. I just did one for $70,000, a rehab for $93,000. These are big deals. Our average wholesale fee is $30 grand, sometimes even more. That's average. That's if we're making $30,000 on a deal, that's what the standard is. If we're making 20, it's And then anything over 30 or 40 grand. I mean, these are big spreads. And our cost per get to get a deal is a little bit higher too. But we're making up for that on margin. But yeah, 30, 40 grand. I mean, that's a really normal profit for us. So we don't need to do a lot of deals to make a lot of money, honestly.
Which is great, right?
Awesome.
If I can do less deals and
less overhead, money, I don't have that much overhead compared to some other of our friends. Yeah.
Yeah. What is so marketing? How are you finding these things? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's your
There's really 2021, I'll share the 3 things that are just crushing it right now. But before I share the third thing, I mean, it was always direct mail, and it was going after these stacked lists and really marketing to them from all angles. So I can get into direct mail because I love that channel just because of the, you can kind of automate it a lot easier. Anyway, so really the bread and butter that I was doing to really put me on the map was I was going out, and this is before any list stacker existed. I just heard someone talk about this at like an event one time. Any list that you buy, well, now obviously you can put them into these list stackers and you can scrub all the vacants. But I was basically just going out and I was getting a tax delinquent list or any sort of distress list, code violations, whatever. And I was taking that list and I was sticking it through this thing called AccuZip, which is just a scrubbing software. And it would tell me all the vacant houses that were already tax delinquent or they were already deceased or whatever the case was. And then I was manually cold calling a lot of the heirs because they were, inherited properties for the most part and the owners were not alive. We were locking up deals like invisible probate deals from heirs via cold calling and texting. And it was a complete blue ocean. And there was a lot of opportunity there. And it's still a great opportunity. But the reason it worked very well for me at the time is because I had more time than money a couple of years ago. And then once I started doing some deals, I started to realize like it was taking a lot of my time to do these types of deals. The margins were great, but I could start to leverage my time more by just spending more money via direct mail, which I can get into, and getting more leads to come to me on autopilot that my assistant can process. And then I can really focus on just that negotiation or raising the money or something like that. So I call it the targeting, calling, and texting. That always works. That's gotten us the biggest deals. And then direct mail at scale, right? So I'm not mailing like 3,000 names. I'm mailing 15, 20,000 names at a time. And it's pure math. It's most of it is just timing. I wouldn't say it's luck because if you mail a lot of units out, you're gonna run into someone with a problem, especially if you're mailing the right types of lists, people who've owned properties for a while. And direct mail has been very consistent and it's predictable. And especially over the long run, when you follow up with leads that come in, I mean, it just makes a lot of financial sense. You're going to get generally a positive ROI. And then in 2021, a great strategy that I've been using, and I can't believe I haven't done this since this year, is working with other investors and JVing deals or me buying deals off wholesalers. Like I was so against that for a while. I was like, I had this weird mindset. And now I'm like, we're getting not half of our deals, but probably a third of our deals from other investors. They're bringing me deals. I can sell them for more money on my buyers list because I have a huge buyers list and they're very active. We have agents on there. Or I'm just buying it off them, right? I'll just buy the deal off them and I'll pay them whatever they want, whatever makes sense. So those are the 3 ways that I'm finding a lot of deals. In addition, like our podcast we did together and just following up with the leads already in my database, which is already based. It's like free marketing because you already paid for it.
Absolutely. That's how you're going to get a better return, right? So when we talk about, totally. Direct mail, there is sequences. There is an art to it, right? You're exactly right that you can, you can automate it a lot easier. But you're hitting these lists multiple times and you're watching the cost per lead. You're watching, okay, it might take 4,500, 5,000 to get one deal, but how many can you do over that follow-up, right? Because remember, profit is in the follow-up.
Big profits, huge profits, dude. And they're the easiest deals because they know, like, and trust you because you've been in touch with them for so long, so you have that, you're kind of like selling them before you sell them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And obviously one of my favorites is obviously JV, as you know, I love a little JV.
Oh, amazing, dude. Amazing.
Yeah. And this is, I think, again, we go back to mindset and mentality. So here's me. This has really happened and we didn't do a deal from it, but right. I get a message, hey, I got a deal in New York. Can you help me with it? Randomly. And I was like,
Bronx. I remember that lady.
In the Bronx. I'm like, sure, I might be able to help with that. Can you send me the details? I then turn around, okay, Greg, I need to talk to you for 5 minutes. I call you, hey, I got this lead that just came. Do you want JV on it? I'll send it. What do you think we can do? And then you just looked at the lead. We started that, and it's actually still in follow-up, right?
It is.
But again, I don't need to come into New York and start looking for buyers and doing this. If I can make, yes, please, Greg, will you help me? I bought the lead. You'll lock it up. We'll JV. Everyone's happy, right? It's a free 100%. Lead to you where they want to sell. So it wasn't like, you know, the seller actually called me, reached out and said, hey, it's actually her uncle, I believe, right? Or something.
There's
is what
some
it was.
scenario. The guy's living in the house. But
So, but it's genius, isn't it? Because
it's the way to go.
You've got to leverage people that can do a better job than you in their markets, right? If it's in Birmingham, Alabama, come to me all day. We'll move them all day, right? Because we're set up there. We'll buy them. We'll help you co-wholesale. We'll do whatever. But again, New York, I know it's a nightmare, right? Because we've had conversations, which thinks to me like I'm not ever going there. For that reason, I love New York, but not from the investment side. So of course, I leverage people, my networks. It's who you know.
100%. Who, not how, brother. Who, not how.
Absolutely. And if I'm listening now and I'm in New York, right, and the state of New York, I'm already going, okay, how am I going to get Greg's information? As soon as I get a deal, guess who I'm calling? That's what I'd be thinking. So, you know, we're going to have the opportunity to make sure we get that out. So
I'll tell you one thing before, you know, just to drive that point home, dude. The way that I got involved in the Texas market was I'm in a mastermind that's based in Dallas. Met a cool dude at the mastermind. Like, just seemed like a really cool dude. Like, not one of these guys pounding on his chest. Name's Jason McDougall, great guy. And I called him when I got this deal and these leads in Dallas, and I said, dude, like, I got this deal. You want to go lock it up and we'll split it? He goes, hell yeah, man. And we went down there, and then like 45 deals later, we made hundreds of thousands of dollars, like personally each net from one conversation by doing who, not how, and not trying to be like, oh, well, let me do this all on my own and virtually, and I don't know the streets here. It's like, dude, I'll just call up Jason. I'll split the profits, and, you know, 50% of something's better than 100% of nothing, you know?
100%.
Last time I checked.
100%. And it blows my mind. Like, we're changing our coaching program right now where it's all about, you know, collaboration and getting deals done between us, right? If I have experienced clients and I have a newbie client and they come in, how do we help? How do we do it? Is there someone else doing deals? JV. Work on 1 to 2 things. Get a JV. Let's get the momentum while you're learning of making money.
Totally, dude. Totally.
To do that. So that's really, really good. Yeah. So how do we talked about marketing, right? You've done the cold calling, the texting, right? It's more time sensitive. It brings in leads, not as good as direct mail, but it is at a lower cost.
Oh, for sure.
You know, so then we talked about, okay, well, you're taking the calls, right? So you're still in the sales cycle where you're saying, okay, well, I'm doing it. I can take these calls. So I want a better quality of leads. I'm willing to pay more money. So you get this direct mail coming in. You've got your follow-up sequence. You're taking the calls yourself and kind of locking deals up. But how are you doing the big deals, like the bigger deals? How are they coming about? Why are you not doing $10,000 assignment fee? How are you doing average of 30 to 40,000?
So there's a few things. The first thing that I tell a lot of new investors is that even if you can't close, like even if you personally can't close, if you have a good enough deal, you can close, right? So the mentality of, hey, I don't just need to wholesale this house. I can buy it if I need to. And that allows you, number one, and I know it's kind of like a cheesy mindset thing, but it allows you to posture up in a negotiation with the seller and with the buyer. So at the end of the day, we will wholesale properties for a price if it makes sense for us. But if we can't get that number, I'm just going to buy it anyway. And it postures me and it allows me to sell my wholesale deals at a higher price because I'm not coming from a sense that I need them to really do business with me. I'd want them to do business with me if it makes sense for them and for me, but I don't need to rely on 1 or 2 buyers to sell deals to. And also in my market, the prices are a little bit more expensive. I'm from about 30 minutes, about 45 minutes outside of New York City. So the real estate values are just driving right up right now because of the mass exodus from Manhattan. Starting to get back to normal now, but the values are a little bit higher up there. And another thing that allows me to get bigger deals is that I focus a lot on not trying to wholesale it at a premium, but I'm still trying to buy it at a deep discount by working with the right types of sellers and people I can truly serve. And by spending the time either building that relationship or selling them the way they want to be sold, which we can get into. And that's allowing me to get a deeper discount and build a better bond with that seller initially that allows me to get it cheaper to then obviously sell it for more money and create that sort of a spread. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. So, and with that sales cycle, you're more committed, right? You're not thinking, oh, I've got to find a buyer. Like,
no,
time,
never.
like, because you're going to close, like you just said. So when you come in, like, hey, instead of you're actually going to close this thing. So your conversation is that you are the buyer, regardless if you're going to assign, regardless if you're going to double close. With the law of, I mean, New York's crazy. Like, you do your inspection after you contract it. Some crazy
before you go into contract. It's
that's it. Before you have to do the inspection before you get control of it. And once you're in control, you don't do an inspection. You've already done it, right?
You can't. Yeah, you can't. You can't get out of contract in New York. It's impossible.
Yeah. So you're like, well, I'm going to buy it regardless. Okay. Which is powerful, but you obviously know what you're doing. You know your numbers to be able to do that. And it's easier sell when you're like, well, I am the buyer. And again, your exit may not be the buyer, but it is going to be the buyer if that's what you've said you're going to do and you're going to follow through on.
100%.
And the reality is, because you've been doing this, you know, really probably 90% what's going to happen. If you're going to wholesale it, you know if it's a tight deal, you know if you're going to flip it, you know if it's going to be monster spreads, and you're going to some degree know that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I know in our area, like before I even get the offer accepted, I know I can sell it for 30 or 40 grand. Like if I'm going to wholesale it, sometimes I can wholesale it for 30 or 40 grand, but if I take the deal down, I can make 90 or 100. Like I have a deal where I could have wholesaled it for 50 all day long. It was kind of a weird spot where the seller, it was like a referral-ish kind of lead. I call it a warm cold call. It was like, hey, dude, my neighbor inherited this property. You want to see if you can buy it? So I called it and I kind of had that relationship. And I didn't really want to wholesale it because if something fell out with a buyer, you'd have to scramble at the last minute to get the money. So I just ended up closing on it and making like 93K net on it. So like the key there is either you having the ability to close, which you can get. People would be surprised if they have a good deal, how quickly they can raise that capital. I mean, it's really, I was blown away when I first started raising private money, like how easy it was if you had a good deal, because you're sold on the deal yourself. You're not trying to sell them because you're already sold. And then also, if you don't have money yourself, if you align with another investor, especially in a tough market like New York, who's there to help you, they'll buy it with you and split the profits. They'll buy it from you, but you got to align. It doesn't really matter what market. You got to align with someone who really knows what they're doing, and provide value by bringing leads. You know, there's a guy, Taylor Berg. Shout out to Taylor Berg. He may be listening to this. Great guy. We're doing like 5 deals together right now, you know, and he's bringing a lot of value with leads. I'm bringing him value with experience and capital. And it's a win-win, you know, we're all working together and ultimately growing, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. And you're in New York, you're in San Diego, moving to New York, you're in probably the best two spots where all the money is, right?
So
as well, through networking. So, and money's key, money's power. If you have money, you can do more things. Like, you know, the flips that we're doing, and we have rules. If we can't make 40,000 minimum on a flip, we're not doing it. We're 100%. Aiming for 50, 60 minimum, with then if something goes wrong, we still make 40 or 30 and it's bad deal, right? Yeah. A lot of people that we come against is they're flipping for 25 grand and it scares me to death because there's no room, right? And the difference is it's the art of finding the deal. So if you're a marketer, we're sales and marketing, right? That's where it begins. That's all it is. Yeah. And when you're new, is that if you can learn how to market, do sales and marketing, you'll always have a place in this business. You'll always make money. And the better you get, you then just make more money from changing your exit strategy, right?
Totally. Dude, that was a golden bomb there, dude. I hope everyone rewinds that because that was just gold. Seriously. Oh, such good information. It's good for me to even hear it. You know, it's good to,
We all say that. That's the beauty of a mastermind, right? You don't go in there and go, oh, I've learned this whole new thing. It's like something you knew, or the way it was positioned, or a little like, of course you do that. And it's enough just to, you know, that's why I love it. Even our conversations, like you'll say something like, you get me excited about direct mail. And I'm like, I'm not big on direct mail, but even I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like maybe I should do direct mail, especially on the flipping now, because we're not going from a $10,000 deal where direct mail just gets eaten alive. If we're making 60, I'll direct mail all day long on them numbers.
I'll spend 10 to make 60. You know, it's 6-to-1 return. Yeah, you know, you can get it for cheaper if you talk to me.
No, absolutely, I will. Don't you worry. So bigger deals. That's how we're doing it. You're finding them. You're obviously in the sales, the process, you're taking them down, which helps because now you can MLS them, you can wholesale them, you can flip them. So you're getting bigger spreads like that. You're less concentrated on it's stigma in our industry, isn't it? Like, oh, Greg only does 12 deals a year, right? Or 20 deals a year, or 15, whatever, right? And it's like, oh, he only does that. but you're doing more volume than someone doing 670 deals a year. You see what I mean? And again, it's that mindset of looking at things different.
That's the real estate issue. It's people think the only metrics of success is volume. And I can tell you right now, I think, I'm not saying this to like pound my chest, but I think in like January or something, we did like 200K in revenue or something. And that was from like, 3 or 4 closings. And I'm like, that was awesome. That was literally 1 month of deals. I mean, a lot of those deals were from the prior time, but I mean, like, instead of having to have 12 closings and 12 transaction coordinations and 12 fires to put out, it's like we had like 4 or 5 deals closed and we made, that much money, net profit. So I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care what everyone else is doing on a volume basis. And it's great if they're doing that and making money. But at the end of the day, you got to stay true to your goals and your reasons, and then try to like keep your blinders on. Because I've noticed the second I take my blinders off and I see what other people are doing and, oh, this guy's doing that, it just gets me in this funk. And then I feel like I'm doing poorly, but I might not really be doing poorly. It's kind of like this weird psychology thing.
100%. And again, I keep referring back to in the same mastermind. It's amazing the things we see and uncover about people.
Oh, it's insane.
Right? I get more things that I don't want to do. Scares to death. Like, we have people in our mastermind doing their overheads $300,000 a month. Like, I just want to
keep the lights on.
Exactly. And I'm like, I can't operate like that. It's amazing you're doing 800 transactions. It's amazing that you make this 10% profit margin, right, when it all goes well. But the pandemic hits and you're begging the government to stay open. Like, that stresses me out. As much as I'm impressed by it, it just doesn't align with the vision. But if you don't look and analyze that in the right way, you're thinking, this guy's like, I'm nothing compared. But I'm like, hold on. I make as much money as you do, as the owner of X, right? Way less hassle and overhead and all these stresses and all these people. Like, it's just it's good the vibes that you get. You can see opportunities that you want to follow and all the things that you don't want. So
100%. And I like the lean model too, because I've noticed as well, as obviously as Corona came in and went or whatever, like when I needed to change my business, like, it wasn't a big deal. I was like, oh, let's just turn this marketing off and like do this marketing. But if you have like, a team of 1,000, you can't just be like, oh, you know what? We're going to like not pay the hard money lenders this month. And we're not going to like advertise, because then like the bankruptcy court is 3 blocks down the street, and like, it's not like, it's no joke, because it's like turning around a cruise ship versus like you and I are on like those speedboats. If you ever seen Ed Milet's videos, it's on that big boat in Idaho. We're on those things. I want to be on that, not the cruise ship. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Boats,
Yeah, no, it's great. And obviously you've done virtual as well. So, like, everyone that goes on appointments were panicking, right? Because now you can't go into a house. That didn't bother us because we don't go into the house anyway. So all these things, and it was luck, right? We can't, obviously, the thing that happened is terrible, and it's so sad to see all these businesses like going down. And our industry of real estate has just excelled. Like, it's gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Incredible,
it's insane.
Dude. Financially, it's insane. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing with like virtual. You made a good point. Like, you can do. I remember like I did my first virtual deal, like true like net virtual deal, like where it wasn't even in my market, because I've done virtual deals in my own market. But like, I remember I got a wire from the title company in Dallas, and I never saw the house, and I was just like, huh, I just got 15,000 in my bank, never saw the house, never met the seller. I said, this is game over. Like, it was like almost like just as good as my first ever real estate deal, just because it was like, oh, I just made money via the internet without having to like do anything, besides like solve a problem and buy a house. But,
no, you're right. And when I started training, all I knew was virtual. So I didn't know about going to the house. I was scared to death. Guy from England who's zero handy. I can literally maybe change a light bulb if I'm lucky, right? Can't fix anything. Of like walking into a house and like saying, oh yeah, it needs this and it needs that. Like, I don't know what all these costs are. So I didn't even want to go. I was like, I'm better on the phone because I can kind of BS my way through. Right. But you get in front and it's like, oh yeah, what do you think this roof's going to be? I don't know, 10 grand. It's like,
I don't know, right?
Where on the phone, I'd be like, well, we need to get someone out to see it. We'll come back. We have to get the repair on that when I started, because I was just like, again, building rapport, having conversations, right?
Totally.
So that's really good. So with these high-end places, right? As well, Obviously, you've done sales training. You've worked with John Martinez. I know obviously you're great on the phone. You're a great interactor, as we've been doing here. Do you have a different approach to kind of your low end area, like in Dallas, for instance, when you're on the phone there, or some of the low end markets that you've done deals in versus like the high price homes, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like, what does that look like? Are you going in with the same approach?
No.
Do you approach it differently? How does that look?
Yeah, it's definitely very different. So I'll give you an example. I did a handful of deals, big deals in San Diego, and the sellers were not distressed one bit. They were like wealthy people. They had money. They weren't homeless. They were not on any like distress list. And the conversation I had with that person or those people was more about convenience and ease. And they knew that they were going to be selling at a little bit of a discount for the convenience and the ease. So that was really the gear of the conversation. It was working with someone who they can trust and selling at a discount, trading some equity for convenience and hassle free. Like that's kind of that was the spiel on those calls. And even in New York, you do some deals where these properties are expensive. And the sellers, they know that they're going to sell at a discount, and they understand that it's not going to be as much as they could get if they listed it. But because there's so much, because there's such a big dollar sign attached to that specific asset, like I'm buying an apartment building right now, and like it's expensive. So like the guy's selling at a discount, but it's still a lot of money. Like, just from zero to whatever I'm buying it for, it's still a lot of money. So it's more about speed, not speed. It's about convenience. And a lot of the times it's the property. It just is outdated. It's not a total fall over, but it's outdated and they just don't want to mess with it. Right. But on the other side, when you're dealing with lower end stuff like Texas and some areas in like upstate New York get a little like low end, it's more about the distress. And it's like, oh, I'm in tax foreclosure. I can't pay my bills. Oh, I've lived here for 50 years and I've never moved and I don't know what to do. And that conversation is really more about, like how's this problem impacting you? What do you really want to have happen with this house? What's going to happen if you can't pay your mortgage and your tenants stay here for another 9 months? Like questions like that get the seller a little bit more like kind of on their toes, versus the really high end stuff. It's more of the seller is aware that they're going to be selling at a discount and they just don't want to mess with it. Does that make sense?
No, that's amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's huge. And I think as well, it's the condition of the property in the higher end is more, again, outdated. It might even be the size, right?
Yes.
Like in Alabama, the two that we just bought, that we wholesaled, they were literally at retail for the condition and size. What a flipper's going to come in is they're going to blow the roof off, put 300 grand in and sell it for 1.5 million. Right. So they're value adding on these properties in these high end areas. So people need to look at that as well. So it can be, it's outdated, it's small, it's on a decent sized lot, and there's mansions all around it. Of course, if it was to sell on the market, 400 grand, yeah, great. We'll pay that. And someone's going to put 300, 400K in and sell it for 1 point something, then it makes sense. So, no, I think that's good. So on the low end, you're going to find more distress and more motivation.
Yes.
Of like I can't pay, like the tenants just keeps wrecking the place, all this. And the other is a bit more like it's outdated, it needs some work. It's more I just want to sell it. I don't want to do the work.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with it.
Just don't want to deal with it. I don't need the hassle. Like it's not all about the money. It's just like let's just get it. I'll just take it away.
Dude, good point to this story here, or a good story to this point. I haven't locked it up yet, but we got this deal with like 100K of equity, and I was on the phone with a seller yesterday. We're trying to it was from a JV investor, and we're trying to buy it for 150, and like he agreed on the price, but I'm trying to actually get the seller to be the private money lender. I'm like, dude, I said, dude, you're wealthy. I guarantee he's not listening to this, so I'm not nervous. I'm like, dude, you're wealthy. You live in Bal Harbor. Like, dude, you're balling. You part in the Red Sea. I said, you got any money sitting in the bank? And he's like, yeah. I go, well, what are your thoughts about, loaning us the money to buy this house? I'll pay you, X amount of interest. And he's like, and he's considering now potentially selling us at a convenient price because as a tenant. And then potentially I might be able to get the guy to give us the money to buy the house, which will be crazy. And I'll keep you updated on that. But the point of that story was not that I'm, the deal king. It was that the guy's not distressed. He's selling at a discount for convenience. He doesn't want to jack with it. But he's not distressed. The guy's a multimillionaire, And he's not stupid. You know, he sleeps with his eyes open. He sleeps with his eyes closed every night. He's not worried about money, but he wants the convenience.
Huge difference. It really is. Like, that is, again, people need to be taking note of that, because that is key. And again, I'm going back to the 2 deals. The same thing. He knew the money we could make. He flipped 4 properties in that. He owned 6 total in the best area in Birmingham, Alabama. And he's like, I know you're going to make money. I don't care. I just want to be done. I don't want to do any more flips. Just take them. And it was, when you have honest conversations, they don't come along every day, but that's what you need to run into in these high-end markets. So that's really good.
Dude, my buddy's about to make $300,000 wholesaling some land up in New York from a multimillionaire, because he's just like, I want $1 million for it. If you can wholesale it for anything more, I don't care. He's got a buyer for 1.3. It's like, dude, come on, like, you don't need to be that distressed to make a fortune in this business. You just need to know it. You need to know the market, you know?
Yeah. And the more money they have, they just want it to be convenient and simple. Yes. And a lot with people, it's just another M in their bank account, right? And they're like, yeah, I just want $1 million. If you make 4 million, I don't care what you make. That happens. I don't care. Like, whatever. As long as you just take it away and deal with it and get me my $1 million, we'll do business, no problem. And that happens a lot. So really, really good. Well, perfect. I appreciate you coming on. Anything else before we wrap this up? It's been amazing. We're going to probably have to do a part 2 at some point.
I'd love to.
Because there's still a lot that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, dude. We'll definitely do a part 2. I'd be open for that for sure. That'd be fun. I guess I'd leave the audience with, at the end of the day, the quicker you develop real good skills, the more money you're going to make. Like, the reason why Gavin and I have done hundreds and hundreds of deals is because we have developed skills, and those skills have continued to serve us over the last 5 or 10 years or whatever the case might be. So the better you get at selling and negotiating and then lead generation, you're going to see your income is going to go up, and it's going to stay up, because you're not going to do deals by accident, right? Because you have real skills that if someone dropped Gavin or I or whoever off in the middle of a random city in the middle of the country, I guarantee you within, 3, 4, 5 months, we'd have $100,000 in revenue going, just because of the skills, not because we're, wonder kids, because we have built skills, and the skills allow us to earn money and earn income for our families. So learn the skills, negotiation, lead gen. And if you do that, that skill will serve you forever. It'll be the best investment you could ever make in yourself.
Fantastic. Brilliant. I couldn't agree more. Communication, building relationships, just being authentic, right? And maybe we should do this, like, at some point. Maybe we should just have a phone, right, and delete all the contacts out of it and go into the city and just say, right, we've got to figure it out, right?
Dude, that would be sick, dude. It's like, because it's really like the skills, like that's where the real value is. It's like, okay, let's go and just, that's something that you can't ever have it taken away from you. Like, you can have your money stripped from you, you can have your assets, you can have your house, but you can't ever get your skills extracted from you. Like, if I went to go play hockey right now, I could still probably shoot the puck pretty hard, because I learned that thing over 20 years,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, look, I appreciate you, Greg. If people want to follow you, I know I'm going to put it up here. You've got your IG, your Instagram, Grego_37. Okay, so follow Greg at Grego_37. Also, if you're not following me, I'm new to the Instagram game.
I see you posting more, bro.
I'm trying. At Gavin.Tims. Go to at Gavin.Tims. Make sure that you follow us. And again, if you're watching, like and subscribe. We appreciate you. Greg, thank you so much. Appreciate you, bud. And I think loads of value, loads of tips here. If you need any of us, guys, put in the comments, drop us, any comments, we'll answer them happily. And Greg, happy birthday, bud.
Thank
and enjoy
you,
the rest
of
your day.
Shows, man. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.